We're sitting here at the PRI show in the Race and Jump booth with Brett Deyo from, I think, everything known to man nowadays. Brett, seems like there's been a lot of interest over the course of the last month with the Short Track Super Series. Why don't you give us a little bit of the lay of the land of what's going on for this year?
Yeah, we were fortunate to get our schedule out pretty early. You know, that seems to be the trend these days with the touring series. So we have 11 races that are 10,000 to win or more, which is pretty exciting this year. We gained a lot in the northern portion of New York. We've got Plattsburgh, Mohawk, and then Cornwall, Ontario. So that'll join our trip to Quebec. So a lot of excitement in the northern part of New York, which, that's been an area we wanted to grow into. Last year we tiptoed into Quebec and it went extremely well. And now we've got the tracks up on the northern tier there looking to get us on board.
Over the last couple of years, you've kind of dabbled into the higher paying races and did your own special elite series. People have been talking on Race Pro about the fact that there is no more elite series. Can you kind of elaborate on what your plans are for that type of thing?
Yeah, we actually kept all the high paying events. So the events are there. Instead of the elite series, we're going to do a combined North and South point fund. So the thought there is pretty much every touring series in the country has all their stars at every race, whether it's dirt car, whether it's Lucas Oil, etc. All their stars go to every race. So with us, we have our northern drivers, our southern drivers. We're trying to get them to intermingle a little bit more. Try maybe get a Delaware guy to go to New York, maybe get a New York guy to go to Delaware. So we're going to have 3 point funds again. There'll be a North point fund, South point fund, and then a combined point fund. So the more you race, the more you make, basically. So in lieu of just paying that elite point fund for just 4 or 5 races, we're going to put it into the combined point fund and then try and get more drivers to hit more events, and try and cross-pollinate between the North and South.
Over the last couple of years, you've done Utica Rome, you've had Fonda, you've had Georgetown. This past year, you did Delaware. What have you learned with, you've kind of grown with what you've been doing, but what have you learned trying to not only, race your own, you have your own series, but you're doing the weekly stuff, but you're doing it as the promotion side. Like at Delaware, it was just a promotion side of the aspect. I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this. When it comes to racetrack versus series, what's the differences when you're trying to do
the racetrack? It's a lot of trying to get the general people there, right? So you're trying to get someone to come in and use that as their night of entertainment. Fonda, we're still $13. Utica, we're $15. So I try and gear the weekly racing to a night out for people. Whereas with the series stuff, you're looking at what I call the professional race fans. Race fans that go from event to event. They circle these events on their calendar, and that's where they go. So it actually is a very different style of promoting. And then you got Delaware, where it's a whole different world because one of our biggest concerns in Delaware is traffic. We don't even have to think about that. It's not even a concern at Utica or Fonda, but scheduling races when there's not beach traffic so you can actually get there. So there's so many different challenges, but I think one of the biggest things we need to do with weekly racing is make it a fast night out. Go out, you get your food, get your beer, bring your friends or family, have a night out, see the modified feature by 9:30 and go on your way. And then the series stuff is more people who, circle those dates on their calendar and they go to all those big races.
With everything you've got going now, like especially with Fonda, one of the more popular nights is the dollar night.
Yes.
It's obviously, that makes a pretty big 50-50, and the stands are packed.
Yeah.
You got like the Jack Johnson race. I think I saw that you're bringing back. You got the Little Zaro race. How important is it for a track with the history of Fonda to continue to have races like that to immortalize the drivers that have paved the way?
Oh, it's definitely really important. I'm excited to work with the Lapes this year. We're doing twin 22s, 2,200 to win each, and then 2,200 for the best average. The Lazaro race, Jumpin' Jack, I talked to Ronnie Johnson a few weeks ago just to make sure he was cool with opening with the Jumpin' Jack race. And, Fonda's, unique, and it has a museum. There's not many racetracks that have a museum on site, and there's just so much history there. And I like to try and hit those nights and bring back and have the vintage cars and really think, because that's what Fonda's all about. I had the chance to sit with Bobby Allison at Dover a couple of years ago in the suite, and I brought up Fonda. His eyes lit up. How many tracks has he been to in his life? But he remembers Fonda Speedway. So that history and the whole NASCAR tie-ins of the old 200s. I think it's a pretty cool deal to be able to showcase the history there.
Speaking of the NASCAR deal, this past year was the first year you guys really were with that, it seemed, like even down at the NASCAR banquet a couple weeks ago, like Matt Shepard, I don't know if Demetrius, I don't know if he made it or not. I didn't see any photo of that. But I mean, that's a huge thing to be on a NASCAR stage, especially for the local short track.
Yeah, they've been great to us. They allowed us to put in the new wheel and caution lights. We finished second overall in the Advance My Track, and we were very close to getting a $50,000 grant. We ended up getting a $5,000 grant. Peyton Talbot won the Division II for the entire country, running Fonda and Utica, and just the brand, just having NASCAR there, and insurance. We signed NASCAR, dropped the green flag on opening day, and Craig Hansen broke his back. And the insurance, I mean, he didn't have to pay for anything. I mean, there was nothing, and they cover everything. It's a great program for the racers, and everyone, when I signed up, they're like, oh, NASCAR is going to tell you what to do. It's not that. It's a marketing and sanctioning agreement. They don't change your rules. They don't change the way you run your races. But they're great support for signage and wheel and lights and so many different things that support the racetrack, the grants. It's an awesome program to be part of for sure.
Speaking of that, you're wearing the Flow Racing hat. How, with everything that you guys have done over the last couple of years, taking the Short Track Super Series out on the Flow Series, on the Flow Racing platform, pay-per-view and stuff like that, I mean, how beneficial has that been for your series, for the tracks, for everybody?
It's phenomenal. We had Ollie's sponsorship. That was on a corporate level. That doesn't happen without the TV. We've got a few more things pending for next year that I'm hoping we'll be able to announce pretty soon. Again, TV. Our series races average 42,000 viewers per event. That was the average. So we had over 1.5 million view on Flow Racing over the course of our season, which was Georgetown, Fonda, Utica, Rome, STSS. Those are huge numbers. So what my job is to take those numbers and sell sponsorship. And we've been fortunate to do that. I mean, I'm thrilled with Flow Racing. We're going to continue for quite a long time. I think they've done a great job.
If you could see the Short Track Super Series in 5 years, is the trajectory that you've been on so far, where do you want this to go? Where do you want
we want to keep growing, get more national sponsorship, and keep paying more. The more sponsors we can get, the more we can pay. And I feel like the modifieds are a little bit behind from what the sprint cars are doing right now and what the late models are doing right now. Again, we're not national, we're regional, but I think if we can aspire to get closer to what Lucas and Castrol and High Limit are doing for purse-wise, that's my goal, is to just keep people racing. And I'm not saying we're going to raise the winner's share. I'm thinking 10th on back. I think that's where the money needs to go here in the next few years, to keep those guys coming back and just keep cars on the track. Because at the end of the day, Matt Shepard can make $200,000 from me, but he can't race against himself. We can't put on a show with those guys. So we need full fields. We need to pay back better. And that's what's really on my mind right now, to get better.
Now you've one last thing. You started off, you haven't done anything with the Cajun Series anymore. I saw that you did that. But you started off in Florida with that type of show, with the 3 or 4 days that you guys have down there, and running into the tracks that you race with up here. I mean, how important is it to start strong with some good shows down in Florida?
Yeah, we desperately would like some sunshine on the Sunshine Swing. Last year we got a lot of rain. All-Tech race is awesome. I mean, you hear that from late model guys, you hear it from our guys. And I've got a lot of interest this year because we raised the purse for all 4 nights, and not only for the modifieds, but for the crates. So we opened the registration, and within, 17, 18 minutes, I had 6 modifieds entered. And we're in December, and they don't have to do that. So there seems to be quite a bit of hype for Florida. The Cajun swing, we actually are planning to announce our plan around May for 2025, and we're going to move it out of hunting season. You just don't get fans in hunting season. I mean, it's a fact. The promoters down there told me. I did it 3 years. They were right. So what we're going to try and do for 2025 is announce a date in the spring of 2024, and then build toward a spring Cajun swing in 2025 to go along with Florida. Their races down there are really well attended in Texas and Louisiana in February, March, and then as the season goes, it declines. So there's a reason why all their big events are in the spring, and I learned it. And that's this year. I feel like the economy's pretty soft. I think people are really counting their dollars. Your average race team. So this year we're going to put all our focus on Florida, raise the purse, and then build toward a Cajun swing again in 2025 that people can plan for.